Hi guys, Paul Buchanan Jones here. Today I'm going to show you how to do a warping patch in Boutique. Now, what a warping patch is when you've got lines that are basically one eye is bent and not in the other. Let me show you what I mean. So if we come to this is my original stitch, okay? Again, it's with the jaunt. Let's just thin these down a bit. So if we come over here, we can see this is my original stitch. There's nothing too much going on here. If I come in here and I switch between, if we look at this part of the ceiling up here, and switch between left and right eyes, you'll see that in the right eye it's fine, the left eye it's kind of bent out the way, and what I want to do is fix that. Now, the thing with the jaunt is that it's only stereo around the equator, so the poles, Zenith and Nadir, are mono. So what's going on here, if I bring up the overlays, is that these cameras that cover the poles are kind of overlapping the ones for the horizon line. So we're getting some stereo warping here, but then this one, even though actually on this camera the weight has been pulled back to -20, that's basically what's going on. It's the blending then between this camera that is mono and a couple of cameras here that are stereo. So I want to fix that, and it's relatively straightforward to do. The first thing that I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to render this out, because this is going to get kind of intensive, and although in fact it's hard to do this in the stitch itself, and the reason for that is that you can't split the left and right eyes out properly. Let me show you what I mean here. So if we come down to effects, and on my stitch node, if I add in a switch eye, and I come to this and I say set this one to be, come on, catch up, left only. Okay, I'm going to come to the node graph, reload my node graph. Right, so here then is my cameras, here's my stitch, this is my left, so we come to edits, attributes, and I'll just call this one left. Going to copy that one over. That was dumb. Actually, we'll leave that one as left, then we'll come back to here and just rename this one as right, and then over here we'll switch this to right only. Okay, so now we've got our left and right views. Let me just we'll pick the left eye here, right? So we've got our left and right, yeah? But you would hope then that you could join these back together. So if we add in a stereo node here, because we need these kept in stereo, and come to this node, and we switch to black and white anaglyph, I don't see any 3D. Now, if we come back down, let me just do it from this one, to the stitch node here, and we'll turn off the overlay. So nothing has happened yet. We've got clear stereo separation going on here, and all we did was we split out the left and the right eyes, and then combined them back together, but there is now no stereo separation. So that's a bit of a shame. You can do this. This does work if you pre-render. And let me show you what I mean. So we might as well scrub all of that lot, because that's not what I need. I've pre-rendered this. And let's say that this is it here. So here is my pre-rendered footage. In order to see, as you can see, it's 3840 by 3840. What we'll need to do then to this is to add, we need to split the two eyes out, but we don't use the switch eye or any of these stereo tools. Actually, we'll use a framing node. And on the framing node, we won't this time set, we'll leave this as input, but what we'll do is we'll scale the Y to 200 and then set the offset Y to -50. So this gives us a left eye. Okay, I think this has been rendered with left eye on top, so by pushing it down by 50%, we get just the left eye. So what we now need then is the right eye, and to do that, all we do is we Alt-drag copy both of those, haven't selected them both, go back to our framing node and set this one to +50. And you can see now we've got each of the eyes. Cool. So now we can do something with it. Now, for instance, if we select all of these and drop in a stereo node, and we come to here, and we put it into black and white anaglyph, we've now got stereo separation, just the way that it should be. Yeah? So there's no difference now between the stitch node and this pre-rendered. Of course, I can now drag through the timeline properly. So now I've got the freedom to do any fixes that I need to do without having to render it all over again. Now, the reason why you might want to do it this way is because you've now got base footage that, should you want to, obviously rendering the stitch is very time consuming. So any patching that you might want to do, if you do it post-stitch render, that's going to speed up your workflow. If you're working overnight, sometimes I like to try and, I'll stack many effects together and just leave the damn thing to render overnight rather than do a bit and let it render for an hour or so and so on, rinse and repeat. So let's take a look then at the node graph on this. Here is our simple node graph, and we'll just see what we've got here. Actually, that's 2 and that's 1. So we'll put that thing over there, just drag these over here. And I'm going to come to this framing node, go to the edit attributes, and we'll call this one left, and we'll call this one right. And we can check what we've got here. So actually, okay. So the left one, which was -50, this is not it. This is right. But I want this one connected second. I believe for the stereo 3D node that the left eye should be the first input. I may be wrong on that, I don't know. But that's, I think I read something about that in the manual. This one then is left. Okay, so we'll put the left to the left, the right to the right. We'll connect the left first, then the right. And away we go. Rightio. So there we go, that's all good. And we've got our left and right footage just as we want. So now we want to patch out the floor. But if you remember, the whole point of this in the first place was I had a problem with this ceiling up here. So before I patch the floor, I'm going to fix the ceiling, and I might want to, there's a little bit of a little blip here going on. But this is the one that's going to bug me, that's bugging me the most. To be honest, I mean, you're probably not going to see that a lot, but if anybody does look up there, it's just not going to look great. And you know what? It's fixable. So let's just work out which one we've got. That's the right view. This is the left view. So the left view. All right, so let's turn off that, because I won't get stereo 3D again until, obviously, unless I'm in this node. That's the only node that I'll see this. So I can turn off stereo mode whilst I'm working on single eyes. So it's definitely the left view. All right, that's fine. Let's pull that one out on its own then. And what we want to do with it is add in a VR view. I'll give myself a bit of space here. And this wants to then spin around Where the hell was it? It was up there, wasn't it? So it's up here. There it is. And let's just roll that round. What I want to do is I'm going to show the grid, and I want to just create kind of a straight line. Get this here onto, well, actually from that corner to that corner is what I need to fix. So I want to get between those two, if possible. All right, that's not too bad. Now, I don't want to touch or adjust this one because this is obviously joining back in to the rest of the shot. But I reckon I can fix this from here. Okay, so what we're going to do now then, as you can see, the rest of this is running reasonably straight. That's fine. I just need to lift this, don't I? I just need to bend this back straight again. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So onto this VR view now, I am going to add a warper node. And to be honest, I want to pull this one off to this side because this VR view is now set. I'm going to pull that one off of there and do this now. Duplicate that node, and then pipe the warper into this VR view. Now, if I double click this, this one needs to be reverse of the previous shot. There we go. So we don't see any difference. So what we want to do now is come to this warper node, click on the warper, do a new mesh, wipe these down to 1, hit resize and OK. So now what I want to do is to select this point in the top corner. No matter which corner you pick, actually, you just pick one of the points that's left. Okay, and then on there, I am going to select the column actually, and I'm going to add a line. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to fix this as well while I'm here. So I'm going to pull that one out to there, add a line, pull that one to say there. And what I want to do is just try and isolate where all these little problem parts are. So rather than just creating, a random grid, that can then sometimes be a little bit tricky to try and, find where the nearest point is and is it going to work for where you are and all of that stuff. I can actually just build the grid out precisely where I need it to be. We're just going to keep pulling these over. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that you'll often want to clamp where things are going to be happening from. So I'm just adding a couple more lines in. These aren't quite as random. That'll basically stop anything moving between that and that, you see, if I need to move them. You'll see what I mean as we start to pull these in. So we just add a couple more up there, and then one. So if you do click off of it, just select a point, hit column, add line. That's just to take that. Right, so I'm going to click off, click on. This time I'm going to select row, add a line, and we're going to come down and fix all of these kind of parts here. And now you can always come back, of course, and just select a point and select a row or column and add more lines in. Alright. I reckon that'll do. Okay, so what do we do next? Next, we simply zoom in with the mouse wheel and select a point. You can choose to draw the tangents if you need to. I'll leave them off for the moment and then just push. There we go. That's exactly what I mean. So you can see here how this is pulling the lights, and I don't actually want that to happen. So selecting that one, I'm just going to select the row, add a line, and pull this line to here just to hold that one in place. Now I can select here and just push these ones around a little bit more. I'm not going to get it perfect, but it can be better than it was. And I'm going to pull this one down on this side, pull that one down a little bit. Alright, that's not too bad there. I'm going to select that one, select column, add a line, and I'm going to put that one there actually, and I reckon that I can maybe just grab that one straighten both of those up. And then we just need to come over to, okay, what's going on here? So I'm going to grab all three of those points and just pull those down a little bit. All three of those do the same thing. I don't want to move those because that's going to join into something else, and it should be enough, you know, hopefully it will just be enough to... Okay, so my positioning of that wasn't brilliant, was it? So let's take that one, select the row, add a line, and we'll put one in there. And let's see if we can select both of those. Pull that, okay. So that's going to push that one out of the way. So we can select row, add line, and I just want a little bit tighter. So then select both of those points, bend that one back into place. Like that. I mean, you know, it's fussing, isn't it? But sometimes you have to. Okay, so once you've done that, hit the back button and nothing much has changed. And the reason for that is that these are all keyable, so you can use the warper basically if you're doing the old morph style thing from one picture to another. That's what you would use it for. In this case, we're just using it for a straightforward single frame, really, warp, if you like. And the way that we need to fix that problem is go to the keyframe graph and just pull these points up. There's two of them, and you'll see now that that's all nicely straightened out. Put the keyframe graph away. And, you know, that's straightened those out. That was a little bit of a wobble on it, but I can probably live with that. But the wall up here, that is fine, which is exactly what we wanted. So we can now come back over to here, and we've got our VR view now. That's laid in, but what we're still going to have is the risk of this ceiling now being different from the right. So let's just have a look at that. So the one that we've just fixed then is this VR view, and we want to have a look at is over here on the right and on the left, on the right. It's not too bad, but what we can do is we can actually use what we've already got here, over here. So I'm going to take... So what I'm going to do now is actually take all of this, copy it over here, like this. So now we've got our right. I'm going to pop those out that side. So these two here, yeah, this is my left view. This is my right view. And I want the ceiling from here. So what I'm going to do then is add a comp 3D to here. And I'm going to stick a scope in there to hold the alpha mask. We'll come to this comp 3D. I'll click on the scope. What I want to do now then is to make sure that when I come to shapes that I set it to lat long. I'm going to create a shape, and yeah, sharpen tang will probably do it. And basically I'm going to follow, I think I'll follow this kind of line here. Well, just, yeah, maybe up around this white part here, I think. So let's see how we get on. So we're just going to click and drag. And inside there, right click to close that out. Okay, so we can pop that one into there, pop that one into there, and I'll just come in. I just want to capture a little bit more on this side, you see. But I know that there's a bit of warperage thing going on there. All right, so I'm going to double click any of the nodes to select the whole thing, and I'm just going to give it a bit of width on the outside. Okay, let's take a look then at our RGB A. There we go. So now what we have then is there's our bit of ceiling, and we're going to comp. This is from the left view, yeah, up here, which is the one that we've painted and fixed, or warped and fixed rather. And I'm now just going to comp this over the top of the right-hand view. So that's not too bad. Now, I could also, since this is mono at the top actually, what we can do is pretty much everything after this point. If I reconnect these up, reconnect that, go to my stereo node, turn on stereo 3D, and switch between left and right views. And you see how the ceiling is now, there's no wobble on it, no bend on it. That's all nice and stable. What I might want to do is to fix this little problem up here and to fix the floor. I'm going to do those, since they're in mono, I shall do those with a straightforward, let's stick a connect in there to keep everything up out the way, a VR view. We'll keep this one as planar. Oh, actually, all right, let's do the ceiling first, actually. Where is it? There it is there, look. There's the problem. So what I'm going to do, actually, is spin this round till it's flat. Kind of like that. And I'll put... Yeah, I think I'll fix this one with a paint node. So with our VR view selected, I'll hit paint node, come into the paint, set this one to clone foreground, and what I want next, actually we can see it was a stitch problem. Let's just up, no I won't. So then Alt click on here, holding that more or less the same position, just paint that thing out. And that one you can see we've got a little bit more of a problem because, you know, we're not going to worry about that too much. I think it'll be pretty well hidden. And then we'll just paint this little bit out here. I reckon that'll do. We could maybe just fix that little bit there. And if we wanted to just sort of like brush some of this in a little bit. Oops, not that. If you do make a mistake, you'll need to hit select, find the bit that's errant and just delete it. Come back to the paint node. Now, what you can also do is, what I want to do here, you can see, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this side is very purple, this side is very black. So what I'm going to do is just lower the opacity of my brush, make the brush bigger, Alt click, and then just paint some thinner purple, just gently sort of like over the top of the black to blend it in. And I'll do the same up here. Again, just gently blending it in. And we can push a little bit of black into there to randomize it up a bit. I mean, granted, nobody's probably ever going to see this, but it just gives you some hints and tips on the kind of techniques that you can use. Now, you can see actually on here, this line here is out. If we wanted to fix that, we would do it the way we did previously with the warper node. I won't worry about that for this one. You've seen how to do that. So from there then, we now just want to wait. Before I do that, go back to my vector paint node. Before you do anything, this is important. I'm on frame 259. If I move off of this frame at all, I will lose all my painting. And I don't want that to happen, so it's all shapes to all frames. You'll notice that there is no keyframe to let you know where you've painted until you hit that, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, so now with that on there, really important, all shapes to all frames whenever you do any kind of paint work. We'll go back, and now if I move through, you can see that the paint nodes are being applied properly. Okay, so we can now use that doubled up node and pipe that back into there. That goes above my center one, and that is a reverse of the previous one. All right, so now my ceiling is all fixed. And all we've got to do now is fix the floor. So I'll just add in another connect to separate these things out. The reason I put these connects in is if I needed to remove everything but keep it in one lump. So say I wanted to just disconnect this entire flow, I can do that by separating out that one and separating out that one, and then just moving the whole damn lot off to one side. If it's joined into here, it just gets trickier because it splits these two nodes apart. So that's why I use the connects. So again then, VR view, not on there, VR view on there, pull that off to one side. And what are we doing on this one? We're doing the nadir, so minus 90, not that one, minus 90. Okay, let's turn the grid off, and we'll just spin that on the yaw. What I want to do here then is get the parquet flooring flat. I mean, we can use the grid for that, because what I want to do is to line these up. It just makes it easier for painting, basically. Okay, that'll do. Minus 90. That'll do. It's more or less straight, yeah? So I'll turn the grid off, and we'll add a paint node. Come back to this side, hit the paint, I'm all set up, so you'll notice that it's retained the settings from last time, so I'm just going to turn the opacity up. Now, with this, I found that sometimes what you might want to do is increase the size of your brush. Actually, before I paint on this, I've got big colour differences between them, and that's probably going to show through. So I'm just going to give myself a very mild wash of a tint, and I'm going to pick the colour, maybe sort of in, maybe in there. And I'm just going to give this a bit of a mild wash across here, just to give myself a bit of a chance, you know, for the blending to happen a bit better. So from there then, what I now want to do is to come to the Clone 4 and reduce the brush size a bit. All right, with parquet flooring, pick a line. Okay, pick a line and put your crosshair on it. And then when you click to paint, make sure you click on the same line. That way then when you paint over, you maintain. Now I've obviously got a very faint colour on here at the moment, but that'll just let me paint it in as I want. Let me just actually turn that up a bit. Now I'm going to click over this side and try and paint out some of this. Okay. Come to the tint again, and this time I'm going to pick that colour and just paint some of this in. That's a bit bright, isn't it? That's better. It's just to try and blend it a bit, you know, just a bit. So we've got that done then. Parquet is just horrible to work with though. Now we want our logo in over the top, so I'll grab my logo, drag that in. This one wants to have a framing node. We might as well just throw a Comp 3D in there in case we need it, and we may as well just throw in a color grade in case we need it, and then it's all done. And then on top of the vector, we're going to add a Comp 3D, and we're going to push those two together, come to here, on our framing node, set that to project, and scale that to, say, 400. Okay, let's make that a bit bigger then, let's say 500. And we'll come to the Comp 3D node on layer 2, rotate this on Z. What we're looking at actually, so generally, I mean, it doesn't matter which way the logo goes. You can even, to be honest, what you can do with this, you know, is, I've certainly done it before now. Oh, look what I forgot to do. I forgot to hit the damn paint node. All shapes to all frames, didn't I? And this is exactly what happens. So I come into here, I don't know what frame it was on. I'll scroll through. Now, when you're doing, if you do this on a unrendered, you know, just straight on a post-stitch node, this is a nightmare. So I'm just going to drag my way through. Oh, I don't know. Well, I didn't see it. Where the hell is it? All right, so as you can see, it's vanished. So I don't know what frame that was on. I can't find it. I'm just going to have to paint this out again. No other choice. That's because there's no animation keys on there. There is nothing as yet. So, all right, on we go. Let's give it a bit of tint first of all. We can see that there is a bit of tint going in. It's very light. We'll just cover a much bigger brush. Yeah. We'll bring the opacity up. Switch that to clone 4. Okay, so I'm not going to spend as long. You saw how I did it last time. I won't get quite as fussy this time. And we'll just paint it out. Like that. I can just drop that down. Put a little bit of warmth over there. And put a little bit of purple in there. All right, so that was that. Now, all shapes to all frames. You'll see the time editor's now appeared. So that's fine. Now if I scroll through this, it's all there. It's obviously a lot more chuggy than it was. Nothing much I can do about that. So, Comp 3D then. Now we've got our thing. We can set it to whatever level we like. We can come to the framing node. We can increase the size of that if we choose to. So by using the blending modes, let's just make that 700, you can see that it's kind of fitting underneath. I might this time, what I will do actually, I will just pull the blacks down a little bit and just make them a little bit more punchy. But I'm going to leave the midtones and the whites to leave that a bit brighter because it's just helping hide that paintwork underneath. Okay, so we've now got that. We now need to comp all of this lot back in over the top. So we'll grab this one now, put that up there, grab that one, pump that one into there, double click. Don't forget to set that to the reverse. And we've now got our logo on the floor and our walls fixed. So right view, left view, move, left view, right view. Okay, so that second paint note, there we go. It's really slowing things down. But you can see that we've got a proper left and right views now. Our ceiling has been fixed nicely. The floor is fine. So we've got logo on the floor. There's a bit of a problem there. We could fix that as either as a combination of a warp or a paint, or combination of the two. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much how you do it. There's the entire flow out, and that's how you would do a post-render warp and paint. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you later.